Hey everybody, this is Grateful Futures here. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. It's actually Easter Sunday, so hope you guys are having a good one out there. Now, this video I had requested a while ago, and I think it's actually a great time to do this video. It's going to be about multi-time frame analysis in volume profile, and I think it's a really good time to do this now because we're in a moment of transition from topping out of the market in the S&P 500 and across most markets, most ETFs. So I think it's a really good time to do it. There's some really cool things we can point out, and I want to start just by a basic review of what I'm looking at when I'm looking at a volume profile. And if you guys need a full review, go ahead and there should be a link or a video that pops up. I do have a whole playlist on basics, but I'm going to just take you guys through it. So now we are looking at the left-hand side of my screen. This is my volume profile, and it's basically just all the volume added up over all these different price levels, right? So um, what is going to happen is basically the more volume, the higher these peaks are, the more volume that was conducted across time. The range of this profile, which is about a year or so ago, is all the volume from then. So what can price look like when it reacts off of these ranges, right? So if there's low volume, that means price either moves up quickly through that area, doesn't spend a lot of time in there. And what that can actually look like is price just moving quickly through it, just like there. Or also, if price retraces to it, then it is somewhat the barrier between this volume area and this volume area, right? These are kind of ranges of trading, and this low volume node is somewhat, you can think of it as the barrier between them. So either price, when it's ready to move up, can move up quickly through these low volume nodes, and then when buyers are supporting prices at these new higher ranges, then we can get quick rejections or supports off of these low volume nodes. So these low volume nodes tend to act as places where price moves quickly through, or they can be very strong traditional support and resistances. Now, as price moves up, we're getting into the bulk of the volume here. So what does that mean? That means price spent more time here. So we may have some consolidations. Maybe price came back down here and moved up, and then we've reached this highest peak in this relative area. So that's what we call our point of control. And that's where price tends to stick for a long time because that's where a lot of the volume has kind of been conducted. So price tends to be long-term choppy around the point of control. But of course, eventually we can have prices move up and discover higher. Now, initially, when it gets to, let's say new highs, there's probably nothing after this. If there's, if this is our current day, maybe price rejects off of here, and eventually we might try to discover higher outside of this whole area right here. Now, points of control aren't just areas where price is choppy. What you can also get is a back test of these zones. So let's say price may crash back down. Maybe we failed to have buyers support prices up here, and it's possible that price retraces here. And why is price pulling back? It's pulling back because it doesn't have enough buy side liquidity to support these prices up here, right? So eventually it does fall down. And where do we know there was more, or at least the most liquidity previously, is at these points of control where there was the heaviest volume. So usually when price discovers higher and then fails to hold those prices, usually you get a pullback to a long-term point of control, one of these. So you'll see that very often. So these times when price has already discovered higher outside of this volume area it was in and then uses that point of control as support, generally that is one of the strongest long-term uh, indications of trends because what was previously the most contested price zone is now a support for buyers in this case. So that's one way we can use those points of control. But generally, I am looking for retracements to these low volume nodes because that's telling me that price is ready to stay in this zone. I really like them. They're usually very clean. support and resistance levels. So if I am in a uptrend, I am generally looking for either those pullbacks to those low volume nodes, so break into a new high, pull back to those low volume nodes to support prices to stay within whatever peak that we are currently trading in. And then occasionally, if price does fall back into the previous peak and then supports at a point of control, I do also like taking those as well. Now, if we're in a downtrend, so instead of looking for longing at the bottom of those high volume nodes, so we want to be shorting the fails of the tops of the low volume nodes. So that'd be like right here, price might pull back to this area of previous heavy liquidity, and just like it can be a support here, we might get a pop here. And if price fails at that low volume node, that blue line, then that's going to be a good short opportunity right there. And as we move down, maybe get some pop off this and then a fail from this point of control. Those are the areas, especially the low volume nodes or the points of control, that I am looking to enter trades. Just, if it's a moving down, if it's a downtrending market in general, I want to look to short the tops of the points of control or the low volume nodes. And if I'm in a long market, I'm looking to long the supports of the bottom of those low volume nodes, the bottom of the high volume nodes. Sorry, this one right here. So that's just kind of a basic tutorial of what I'm actually looking at in a volume profile. Let's go ahead and look at some actual candlesticks and then see if we can see some of those things. And then we will transition over to looking at some different time frames and making an actual plan for if you're, doesn't matter if you're swing trading, it doesn't matter if you're day trading, you can look at this stuff and get a kind of tessellated view of the market. So let's go ahead and unhide these candles here, and just going to briefly take you through and see these. Each one of these blue lines is a low volume node. You can see where these were very strong supports, and then when price is ready to move up, it can find a new range up here, and then maybe price fails at this all-time high, trying to make it, pulls back to this point of control, and it's just kind of a cycle, right? Supports at these points of controls, and maybe we have a little bit of support at this low volume node, but if it breaks down, it catches more buyers at this previous liquidity zone, this point of control, and that's just kind of where you're looking for those plays to actually occur. Now, we've been in a period of, let me transition to a 4-hour chart to make it a little easier, but we've been in, for a while, we're in a period of a topping market. And I had was kind of seeing this and kind of seeing it play out. I showed this in one of my previous videos where there was a very, very heavy sell pressure at the top of the market here. So I had already been looking for a potential transition. Now, if we're going ahead and going to look to see, when we can see a new trend actually start to develop, right? Let's think about it in terms of volume profile. So there's this area of trading, there is this area of trading, and so far and so forth down. Let's go ahead and see right now over here, this period we're still kind of making higher highs and higher lows, but the market seems to for a while support this low volume node right here, roughly around 674. So all this time you're longing those low volume nodes, longing those low volume nodes, longing that low volume node here. And then around here, I was like, okay, we've been topping out around here for a long time. I'm not going to go ahead and long the bottom of those low volume nodes anymore. It might potentially break. It does kind of test lower here, supports it, but eventually does break down. So these candles right here are kind of indicative that price is looking to discover lower, right? We can't really make new highs anymore. It's going somewhere lower to look for buyers. And then when buyers do come in, where do they come in? Funny enough, is right here at this point of control right here, because that's where we know there was previous liquidity, was at that point of control, that high volume node. Prices pop back up, and then this previously most contested price right here, that 683.28 or so, which is the point of control of this upper volume node, that gets rejected. So this was the point where I said, okay, a bear market is for sure starting right now. Let's go ahead and start a new volume profile. So this is something that I haven't shown you guys yet. When I suspect a new trend in the market, whether it is a bear market going into a bull market, or in this case, a bull market going into a bear market, I want to see how the volume differs in the new trend, because right, this whole volume profile is anchored from the start of this bull market here. So just the same way, I want to see the volume profile of from where the bear market technically started, that pivot point, down to the current day. So let's go ahead and put a volume profile, an anchored volume profile in from this point right here. And that's this volume profile here on the right. Now, I do want to point out there is some really, really cool things you can notice when you have these two different trend volume profiles on your screen at the same time. One is that sometimes the low volume nodes will line up with low volume nodes like this one here and this one here. That, kind of concurs that that is a good resistance level. But the most interesting ones, I think at least, are when a previous point of control, like this one, ends up being a low volume node on the other side. And you see this actually recurs quite a lot. For example, let's see this one, this point of control right here lines up with this low volume node over here. So what does that tell you, right? That tells you that price went through this area really quickly, which, you know, recently or before on the previous trend was an area of the most volume. So those were where we were looking for buyers to actually support. But now it's an area where volume is not being conducted really at all. Price is moving quickly down through that. And then when it tries to retest that area, it's actually now a strong resistance. So that's um, one thing that I'm looking for a lot is when a point of control lines up with a low volume node from the new trend in the market. And those are areas where I am generally looking to trade. Maybe swing trade since this is a 4-hour chart, but what we're looking for since it is a bear market right now is we're looking to, if you're a swing trader, short the tops of those high volume nodes on your new volume profile over here to the right. So for example, it could be when price breaks down from, this area down to this area, you can see that there's that low volume node right here. You could wait for price to pull back there and short there, targeting this previous point of control, or you could, maybe hold a runner from there and wait to see price stabilize down here. But those are the areas that I'm generally looking for, and I will mark those off in a different color. I like gray for a new trend coming in for a bearish market. Doesn't matter what color it is, just mark off those low volume nodes, and those are the ones that I am looking to kind of base my plan off of. Now, for any market, generally there is a ebb and flow of you have a push down, then you'll have a push up, you'll have a push down, then a push up, and so on and so forth. So, right, market doesn't always move one way. Now, if you're just swinging, that's fine. You can wait for these pullbacks to those low volume nodes to the top of the high volume node at the low volume node there to short. Or if you're a day trader, you can use these levels to base your plans off of, right? So eventually, price is, if it's burning down like on this downtrend right here, eventually you will get a pullback. It's inevitable. So I'm going to show you guys one, how I look for those pullbacks, and then how we can use some shorter time frame volume profiles to go ahead and make a plan and just in general understand what the market is doing in any single time. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to show you how I would set this up. Let's go ahead and maybe just take it back to a 2-hour chart. So take one of these out because I just put it in there. Okay, so um, what I did was took this gray box, these gray boxes here, and just line them up with the low volume nodes on your new volume profile for the recent downtrend in the market. And that's pretty much good for the ones that are closest to me. I'm not as much paying attention to the old trend blue lines, but I do somewhat, kind of keep an eye out for them, but I'm mostly now looking for this newer, just the volume that has been uh, conducted recently in this recent downtrend, because that's telling you where the sellers are currently on this downtrend, where the buyers are. I think that is primarily the most important focus now, but you can still look at this just to kind of get a gauge of long term, what zones are we in, and if we break down to a new space, obviously you're generally looking for buyers to come in at these points of control long term. So let's go ahead and just kind of see what happened recently. So recently we had price break down into a new space down below. And we can go ahead and just kind of, let's maybe just do a replay just so you guys can see. It's not just, something that's just visible after the fact. So we have price that has broken down, and right, remember, we're always looking for buyers to come in at the previous points of control. Those are the areas of previous heavy liquidity. So buyers do kind of have like a double bottom here, but when you see price start to reject off of that low volume node. And again, remember, that's where you guys are kind of want to get short. When you're in a downtrend here, right? Lower highs and lower lows, there's not really a lot of volume to work with, although it does kind of align with this one right here, this low volume node. Um, but that is probably a good place where you can get short off of, and targeting maybe this point of control right here. Although I do think that we broke down further from that. So keep going. So we had price breakdown, kind of, you do see some wicks here. Some buyers are coming into the market, and then where does it pull back up to? To this point of control that was that previous support, and then we have price fall even further. Now, I was kind of surprised that we got such a heavy rip down after this, but of course, the market always can act irrational. But this is, if I see this is where the chart is right now, you're looking for those points of control from the previous trend, the bull trend, to look to see where buyers could potentially come in. You can see there's this huge wick right here. I think I was just waiting too long for price to get back up to here, and I don't think oh, there, yes, that's what it was. So we had some crazy news where price did overnight shoot back up here. This was the day here where I was waiting to get like a wick or play off the previous day. Um, but see, you have price buyers come in at the previous point of control. It comes up to that, what is this previous point of control here, but is now a developing low volume node. And that's where you can, probably pretty comfortably take a short off of this area right here. Um, Buyers step in at this low volume node and push price back up to that area. And you can even see how many wicks are coming in off of this developing low volume node here, right? So we have, you kind of think about this zone, above that is this zone, and I'm looking for sellers to come in at this zone right here, sellers to come in at this zone right here to kind of have a good, the best risk reward for a potential short, for it's kind of where the chart has showed us is now the new resistance of the downtrend. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you there, and it does really rip down after that. They even break down through this point of control, and this was when I was like, daily at this point, RSI was oversold. I was really thinking that we were going to get some kind of rebound soon. Just based on the daily, RSI was crazy low. But what actually ended up happening was we had another day down, and then this is when it really happened. We had this gap up, and price pushes all the way back up to that area. Now, this is interesting, and I kind of want to look at this from another time frame really quickly. This day, the day of the 30th into the 31st. So that was this day right here. Now, this is kind of another thing that I'm looking at. If one thing I want to see is if we catch buyers off of a previous point of control, because that's where they previously were. Or sometimes what happens is that sellers are selling so hard, shorts are pressing really, really hard. There's such heavy short interest. And then one day, uh, buyers open the price above the previous day and especially the previous day's point of control, right? This is the volume of just this session. So think about it from a psychology perspective. If you have tons of shorts that are really concentrated in their positions right here, and then the next day it opens above that, comes down, and you see wicks off of that, right? Buyers are coming in off of that, or shorts are closing their position. They're trying to close at break even because they're at right in this open right here, they're underwater. So this is actually one of my favorite trades in a bear market is when you see this major downswing, you open up the next day above the point of control of the previous day and you get support off of it, then I'm on open usually I'm bullish on these days. So you do get that push up from there. That's I wanted to show you guys that really quickly. But right now I wanted to also show you guys that my kind of thinking here when price is pulling back. I'm not swinging short, or sorry, yeah, I'm not swinging short at this point until prices get back up to the top of the low volume node. But what I can do is after seeing this, I can take long trades because I do think price is going to eventually get back up to this area, that next low volume node up right there. And if it does get up there, right, if this is truly kind of a bullish relaxation, then what am I looking to do based on what we talked about earlier, right? If I'm in a micro bullish uh, state for, kind of shorter time frames, then I'm waiting for prices to get back up into this volume area. And then what do I want to do? I want to long the bottom of this high volume node or this low volume node right here. So this is a good place to get long for a day trader. Just kind of assuming prices probably will get back up to that low volume node up there. So let's just go ahead and see what happened there. And then once we run out of days on the replay, and it does pop back up there that day. This day was pretty powerful support off of that low volume node. Let's go ahead and take it down on the time frame, and we can actually see some of these things happening in real time. So this is a 30-minute chart. I love to make my trading plan off of a 30-minute chart because I like it. I think it's very accurate in terms of like the session volume profile. I do have a session volume profile that I can turn on for these days, and you can see right here how there was that support off there. But I'm going to keep it off right now because what I want to do is take a volume profile of just this swing low to the swing high and just kind of pretend that this is the day we're finishing off on this day right here. So let's do that volume profile from swing low to swing high. So this is what it would look like. And basically, again, this is our the area that we are kind of working in right now. That prices has gone broken above this low volume node right here, and now we are in this range right here. Price pulls back down, right? This gray box, especially with the dotted line, previous point of control, this tells us that this is a great place to get long if price is discovering higher out of this bottom zone. So price already automatically opens down by there in pre-market shows you that we have that support right there. This is an area where I got long. We took this trade in my Discord. Um, but basically immediately buyers stepped in, ripped the price back up, and even on this specific trend, this portion of this uptrend, you can see that we have very distinct volume zones even on like a 30-minute time frame. And we're about to go to the 5-minute time frame and kind of go into this a little bit further, but let's go ahead and do that actually. So I'm going to step it up to a 5-minute time frame, and this is that same exact volume profile that we had pulled up before from anchored from right here, that previous swing low. So we saw this morning price came into this area, supported this low volume node on our 2 to 4 hour chart. We knew this was a place that we wanted to get long because prices are discovering higher right now. And of course, as a day trader, that also lines up with the volume specifically of this uptrend right here, which is what we have here in this purple. Um, our long-term volume profile, our 30-minute volume profile, and the volume of just this specific uptrend all shows us that we have support at this 644 area. That's exactly where we touched off right there, and immediately prices ripped back up. Now, where am I looking to target if I do take a long position somewhere around here when I see buyers make that higher low? I am looking to, one, target the point of control of the peak that I am currently in. So that was a target for me right there. That point of control, right? We are currently in this peak right here at the open of this day. That's the point of control of this peak. Now, what's my next target? My next target is going to be the top of this volume area, because remember, that could act as some kind of resistance. We could, once we get up there, we could reject it and come back down. So that is another area that I'm looking to take off, maybe off a lot. If I want to leave a runner, I actually didn't in this case, kind of regret not doing it, but prices actually ripped right up through that low volume node and reclaimed this area over here, this volume zone from the previous day. So the last target that I would have probably be the point of control of this volume node. Let's kind of just actually go ahead and look to see previous day. What it would look like, so your guys aren't just like, oh yeah, that's how it looked after the fact, this is totally retrospective. No, let's actually look exactly what that volume profile looked. This is as of the open on this previous day. You can see all of these are pretty fully developed, and you can even write out that same exact targets that I just showed you right there. That's that point of control. There's this low volume node right here, which is also roughly around the low of pre-market of that day, and then the point of control of this peak up here. So, right, we have, let's go ahead and maybe play it out, because there's one other thing I do want to show you. So we see price comes into that low volume node. That's already where we know we want to uh, get long. So if this happened in pre-market, you just want to make sure that some kind of buyers are entering at or above this zone. And when you see those buyers come in, you can feel comfortable taking that, knowing that you see prices discovering higher, that we already know we're looking for this to long the bottom of this low volume node from a 2 to 4 hour chart, and it's already giving us complementary signals from the 5-minute volume profile of just this uptrend is also showing their support there. So feel confident and take that trade. That's definitely a good trade to take. Now this one ran like crazy. There was some news, but that doesn't matter. It's always about these zones of the volume profile, how many of them line up, and what are, if you're in a long trend, then make sure you're longing the bottom of those high volume nodes. And then if you're in a short trend overall, make sure you're shorting the tops of the high volume nodes here. So another thing I want to go over really quickly, so you can even see this on even a shorter time scale too. So let's go ahead and say, right, prices even just on just this day. So price is discovering higher, right? So we were in this peak, and now price is discovering higher. It's going into this peak. So what if we're even on a shorter time frame, what are we looking to do if price is at this point, right? I'm not just longing into this low volume node right here. It would actually be crazy if it just keep going up. But um, what you want to do is assess where price is. Price is in this volume node right here. We're in a bullish trend. So what am I looking to do? I'm looking to long support into that low volume node. So I want to get long right here. If price comes down into there, I want to get long right here. Where can I target? Well, the first place I would target is the point of control of the peak that you're currently in. So right about here. And what happens? You can see price retraces right into there, right here, and you get pops. Where does it go? It comes right into that point of control. And that's where some sellers come in because it's having a little bit of problem retaking this, but there's definitely buyers down here. So let's go ahead and show you one more time. It dips down there and gets back to that same point of control. So it doesn't matter what time frame you're on, you want to always just look at the volume profile of the current trend that you're in. Make sure if it's long, if you're in a long trend, you want to be longing those pullbacks to the low volume nodes. And then if you're in a short trend, let's see, maybe if we can find a short trend example. So this is a kind of good example right here. So it comes down and you get prices fail in this volume zone up here, separated by these two gray boxes, and you come down. Um, and there was another reason that we went short here as well, but that might be for another video. Um, yeah, there was some failing of some point of controls up here anyway. But that's what I wanted to show you guys. Go ahead and look at your 4-hour chart. You want to see where these low volume nodes are. If you are, assess the situation. If you're in a overall short bias, then wait for price to retrace to these low volume nodes at the tops of the high volume nodes. And basically, you don't want to assume it's just going to break, right? The worst thing that you can do in this case is say, oh, price is coming into this historical resistance. Let's go ahead and, you know, assume it's going to break. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. Assume that you stay within the volume area that you're currently at. And then that's really it. Just assume the trend and look for those pullbacks to those low volume nodes. Go to lower time frames to see the volume patterns of just the current trend that you guys are in, and then do that same kind of idea on lower and lower and lower time frames depending on what you guys like to trade. So that's what I wanted to show you guys today. I hope you all have a blessed, happy Easter. Um, Absolutely a wonderful day here in Florida. So I hope you guys the best. And as always, guys, happy trading.